Hi, we are here with Jamie Barton. I am Caitlin Osmondson with our High River, and welcome, Jamie.
How are you doing, Caitlin?
I'm doing really well. For joining me today, and we're just going to jump right in here with some of our questions to get to know you a little bit better as one of our candidates running in our election here in High River. So, first of all, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, why you're running for council, and why High River residents should vote for you?
Sure. It's getting good. I think at answering that question because I think every candidate is probably getting the same question out there on the streets. So basically, I'm born and raised here. I've lived in High River for 50 years now, and I guess the one thing that has given me is kind of a perspective of how things have changed over time from when I was little till now, and I've sounding like my parents now, but I've seen a fair bit of change. And I guess the one thing that I've in the last 10 years at least, I really personally, we got a lot of the community gave a lot to us for a number of different reasons, and I just felt compelled to give back in whatever way I could. And I've spent a bunch of time on 3 or 4 town committees, some trade organizations, and then also helping my son Tate with his lemonade stand. So it's been been interesting the last 10 years. So I think this is just a natural progression for me to want to take a step further and see what I could do for this community from a municipal level. And I think that kind of sums up kind of me personally, right? So, and I think giving back, one of the reasons I think people, um, for people that don't know me in town, because I've been engaged in a lot of different activities, volunteering and stuff like that. Like currently I'm involved with Foothills Minor Hockey, and I just really kind of I push things to try and get the best out of all of us, out of all of our organization, and trying to set it up for the next group of people that are going to take the reins, right? And I think that's a quality that I've had for a number of years, is just trying to think of how it's going to affect everybody down the line. Probably a good reason that, or good quality, I guess, anyways, for in voting and looking for a candidate, anyways.
Definitely. Yeah. Thank you. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So that kind of leads into our next question, which is, if you are elected, what would be your top 3 priorities for the community, and how would you work to move those priorities forward?
For sure. I guess I've listened to a lot of different priorities from different candidates, or even listening to the town council themselves, the current council. I guess they've just finished as of today, but or yesterday, I guess it was. So, 3 things have stood out for me. One, my number one is communications, and it's both internal and external. And what I mean by that is I've experienced, and I think a lot of people in town have experienced, different forms of communication or lack of communication from the town administration. And I think it's been super frustrating for a lot of people. And a prime example of external communication is I think, for lack of a better word, they did a horrible job of communicating the progress of the bridge, Beechwood Estates park path system that was going on there. That was a mini internal fiasco. So that was an internal thing. The bridge communicating to the people, like people asking questions, that was external. So I think across the board, we need to improve communication. Number one is fundamental. It's I think that's my number one thing. Number 2 is economic development, and I think a lot of people have got a lot of different ideas, and I'm open to all of them. I think there's a lot of great ideas, and there's a lot of there's a lot of opportunities that we have at hand, whether it's downtown growth, whether it's maybe some different areas of town that need some addressing, like along 12th Ave, maybe out by uh, the Tim Hortons and the Esso Plaza, kind of out on the north end. There's lots of different things happening, and then there's, I mean, economic development is going to bring a tax base to this community that's going to help us deal with some of the other items, like some of our facilities that are aging, and the pool, and probably even the library is due for a few things. And um, I think that's just one item that we need to really focus on. And I know years ago we used to have an economic development team, and I'm not 100% sure why it disappeared, but I think we need to look at it as a whole council and try and reestablish that and then get community engagement, because man, there's a lot of people that want to just get involved. So that's number two. And number three is exploring new revenue streams. And I think it kind of comes out of economic development, but we need to look at things a little bit different. We need to look at, I'm just going to give this as an example, and this is not what High River can do because we're not in a position to do this, but like City of Calgary owns the Calgary Stampede, they own NMAX Corporation, they own CETA. There's a number of different corporations that they own that provide funding to the town or to the city itself. And I think one opportunity that we have is we have a lot of water that's going to different communities, like through the foothills county. It goes to Cayley. It provides up to Ravencrest and a few other areas. And from what I understand, it goes really close to the town of Okotoks. Long story short, I think there may be an opportunity there. Maybe we I don't know. There's a lot of different things that we need to actually explore in terms of that. I had a couple other ideas. I think we're really bad at our dog tag system, and I think I kind of fell victim to that last year. And it's just I think we don't have people looking at those missed revenue streams. I think it's something that we need to look at. Maybe it's not a lot of money, but every little bit counts, right? So I think those are my top three, if that makes sense. Communications, economic development, and exploring revenue streams. But man, there's a ton of other issues that we have been brought up to. So
yeah, if we had more time, I'd be asking you your top 10, but
yeah, I know.
We have to keep these a little shorter so that people will watch them.
Oh, exactly. So
Awesome, thank you. So our next question is about the AUMA Local Democracy Pledge. And this was a question that was submitted to us by a community member, which is so great that we have active citizens that are aware of these things and, like really rallying for keeping local politics local. So did you have a chance to read through that pledge, and have you taken the pledge?
I tried to print off the pledge. I did go through it, and I agree with all of that stuff. So I was going to print it off and hold up my pledge form, right? But so yes, I did, and I think this is a prime example of keeping things local. One of the things that there's been several issues or things that have come up that should stay in provincial politics, and for whatever reason, they're filtering down into municipal politics. And I think part of that is through the current provincial government kind of downloading some things to our municipal level. And I don't think everybody probably knows what I'm talking about, and I don't even need to bring that up anymore. But I think we need to start pushing back on some of those things, and kind of, I don't know what the right term is, but it just kind of like reaffirming our stance, right? Like we did it with the coal issue, and we were successful in doing that. We need to start kind of pushing back and saying to the municipal government, you deal with this. Like you make it your issue, not ours, because that's been a big problem. But I think going through those things is keeping local elections local, maintaining independence and nonpartisan, demonstrate transparency, and engaging in respectful behavior. And I think that I've done that all. There's I agree with that pledge 100%, and it's I think something that we all should in municipal government kind of live by. So yeah, I'm glad that that question was asked.
You're going on the record saying it.
Exactly. Yeah.
So you kind of referenced our next question a little bit in your top 3 priorities there, but what are your thoughts currently? The current number 1 strategic priority for the town of High River has been the long-term water strategy.
Yeah.
And so what are your thoughts on that? And yeah, this was another question that was asked by a citizen. So it's really neat to have like engaged citizens
Yeah.
wanting to engage candidates in the current issues. So what are your thoughts on that?
Well, I think this is an interesting question for a couple of reasons. One is because for everybody that's known me, I've been involved in the water industry in some shape or form for the last 28 years. And so when it came to kind of thinking about this question and trying to figure out what my my thought was, is like I think we're sitting on more than what we know, right? And in terms of water, I know that for a fact. Actually, there's been a number of different studies that have been done around the High River region that have never been done um, anywhere else in Canada, at least at the time, and it was several years ago. We we need to look at it. One is not only what we can maintain for ourselves, but we also need to look at it as a resource, right? Because there's other communities around the town, around High River, that don't have access to it. So, for example, Kaylee, we deliver water to Kaylee via Foothills County. And when I asked some administration about this particular question, I mean, this right now, from what they were telling me, there's not a lot to say, but to see or anything like that. But they're basically trying to make an agreement between the Foothills County and the town of High River, and I think that's the first step. Second step is a long-term water strategy. We need to understand exactly what we have here and what we're where we're going with it, right? Because that is going to either impact our growth, kind of like it did with Okotoks, or it won't, right? But I suspect it will impact our growth at some point. But I think, man, that's a big topic to start kind of diving into. And I think whoever submitted this question is right. It's one of our main priorities in sustaining this community, right? So it's a great question.
Yeah, you know, I thought it was a good one too because it's interesting. Like you mentioned, Okotoks. It's like their number 1 issue in their election right now, and our community isn't really talking about it as much. So I think it's cool to see, yeah, when our community members are sort of like bringing these things to the table and opening up the conversation about it. So thank you. I enjoyed your answer. It was an interesting one and very educational.
It's I've always I really enjoy the water side of things. Honestly, it's kind of a weird. I don't know. It's just because it's been part of my business for the last, like I said, 28 plus years. It's always intrigued me, and so I always kind of keep my ear to the ground when people are talking about water and how it's going to affect us and how it affects our environment or yeah, it's something near and dear to my heart anyway. So
Awesome. Well, we're just about at the end of our time here. So is there anything else you'd like to say before we wrap up our interview here tonight, Jamie?
No, I don't think think so. I think that's about it. I mean, I've got Facebook page, I got Instagram page, and I've also got a website. If you go onto one of those, you'll be able to find all that information. And yeah, I really enjoy talking to everybody that's sent me emails or in person. It's been great getting to know people, but also great getting to understand this town on a little bit different perspectives. So I appreciate everybody's thought and input. So yeah,
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for joining us, and best of luck to you on election day.
sounds good. Thanks, Caitlin.
Thanks,
Take care.
Jamie.
Yeah. Bye bye.